Hi guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one, we are going to head over to Canada once again, and we're going to return to a brewery that has now featured on the channel quite a few times before. I've had some really nice beers from these guys over the last year or so, a few different styles, but if people were to ask me about this brewery, I would say that they're best known for their different kinds of New England hazy, whatever you want to call them, IPAs, but I have seen a few other styles from these guys too, and I really do need to check those out. But the beer we're going to have a look at today is from one of their more experimental series of beers from what I understand. It's a style that I know this brewery can do very well, a sub-style that I really quite enjoy, and you know, both of the style and the sub-style are very popular at the moment, I have to say. This is one of their latest releases here in Hong Kong too, and we always seem to get their beers pretty damn fresh here, which is great. So needless to say, I'm very curious to see what this beer is going to have in store for us. Hopefully it's another good beer. Hopefully it makes for an interesting review, and as always I hope that you guys watching enjoy my take on this one as well. So yeah, for this review then, we are going to head over to Canada like I said. We're going to go to the province of Quebec, the city of Montreal, and that means that we're going to have a look at another beer from the wonderful Messorem Bractorium. So this particular beer is part of their Temporalis series. This is number 22. It comes in at 10.3% ABV, and this one is a New England hazy Imperial Triple, whatever you want to call it, IPA. So from what I understand, the Temporalis series is a series of IPAs. I've seen double IPAs, singles, triples in this particular series, but it seems like they release one every kind of couple of weeks or every month or something like that. But I noticed that this one also has this mark on it here, the Extreme Turbo, so I'm guessing that this might be one of a couple that they've released this month, but this is the slightly stronger version, because what you often find with a couple of their more core range beers is that you'll have the regular one, but then you'll also have the Extreme Turbo edition. So I'm not sure if that is also the case with the Temporalis, but like I said, this is number 22 in the Temporalis series, which seems to be a series of kind of experimental or seasonal, whatever you want to call them, IPAs. But yeah, let's see what this guy's going to have in store for us. Certainly curious to see what this one is going to be like compared to some of the other New England triples that we've had from this brewery before. So, yeah, as always with my reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery before we taste the beer. If you want to get straight to the tasting though, just fast forward. All the usual links can be found in the video description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that I've done from Messorem Bractorium before, and we will no doubt add more to that list in the near future. But there's all the usual social media down there. If you want to see more reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The support that you give is massively appreciated, and remember, you can go into the channel homepage and search for beer using the geography tagging system. So just go in there, use the little search bar, put in your hometown, state, county, province, whatever you like. If I've reviewed beers from the area that you search for, they will pop up. Failing that though, you can check out the playlist of beers from different countries. You'll find this one in the Canadian playlist along with a number of other things, and that's being added to quite regularly, of course, because we do get a good selection of Canadian beer here in Hong Kong, which I'm very happy about. And do make sure you check out the playlist of beers from other countries as well, because there are some very interesting things on the channel these days. But yeah, let's go on to my brewery notes then, and I'll tell you a wee bit more about Messorem Bractorium once again then. So, as I've mentioned to you already, Messorem are based in Montreal and Quebec over in Canada, and the three men behind this company are Marc-André Fillon, Sébastien Chaput, and Vincent Menard. And I will apologise in advance for any bad French pronunciations in this video. It's been a long time since I did my high school French. But these guys basically met in the underground music scene in the city during the early 2000s. So Sébastien is a guitarist, and he plays for the metal band Iron Dissonance, who have played all over the world, but more recently he studied business management and finance, and he takes care of the business side of the company. Vincent, on the other hand, was a drummer for another metal band called Last Felony, but he was also an avid home brewer for years before he went to study brewing formally, and then he interned at Oval Brewing and also at Pit Caribou before going on to work for Les Trois Mousquetaires for 2 years, but he now takes care of the brewing side of the business. Marc-André was the singer of Orphans in Coma and Here Comes the Hurricane, but more recently he began rapping with La Carabine. So he studied design and marketing before working in the field professionally, and he is the man behind the branding and the artwork of Messorem. But apparently back in 2015 they would meet every Friday in a group of friends to do beer tastings and try rare beers from across the world. But this really got them wondering about how they could satisfy their desires for such kind of big bold beers without having to bring back only very small amounts. And this got them talking about founding their own microbrewery. Now, Marc-André's father Christian was really impressed with the group's tenacity at trying to get this project off the ground, and so he spoke to his friend Francois Garot, who helped them find the company's current home on Lachine Canal on Pitt Street. And Christian actually worked in pharma, while Francois had been a professor of mathematics and also worked a bit in real estate on the side. And the two men then joined the company to get on with it because they were very curious to see how it would go. But the name Messorem Bractorium translates from Latin into English as the Brewery of the Reaper, and this brewery opened its doors to the public in August of 2019. They've got a tap room on site with terrace and a capacity for 250 people, and they've collaborated with Mitch Deli, who run the kitchen and serve all sorts of dishes. It seems to be quite a seasonal menu. Can't speak English these days. But over the years, this brewery have become really well known for their IPAs, and their sour beers are supposed to be very, very good as well. And as of September 2024, when I'm filming this review for you, these guys have produced 600 different kinds of beer according to Untappd. So yeah, that is everything I can really tell you about Messorem Bractorium for the moment. If you want to learn more about these guys, you can check out the brewery website, you can follow them on Facebook and Instagram to keep up to date with all the latest goings on, and you can check out the Rate Beer, Untappd and Beer Advocate pages to learn a little bit more about all the different beers that these guys have done. So yeah, let's go on and actually have a little look at this beer itself. So like I said to you, the name of this one is simply Temporalis number 22. It comes in at 10.3% ABV, and it's a New England Hazy Imperial Triple, whatever you want to call it, IPA. The hops in this one are Motueka, Galaxy and Citra, and part of the Citra is also Incognito as well. So yeah, Motueka, New Zealand hop, about 8% alpha acid. That's going to give you a lovely big juicy lime character. Galaxy is an Australian hop, of course, about 14% alpha acid. It can give you your usual sort of grapefruit, big juicy mango, but I find it's often got quite a big pineapple-y character to it as well. And then Citra is of course your classic sea hop, 14% alpha acid American. That's going to give you quite a bit of grapefruit, a lot of mango, and in a New England IPA I find that it very often has quite a character of lemon lime to it as well. So yeah, 10.3% New England Hazy Imperial Triple, whatever you want to call it, IPA. An extreme, I'm not sure if we have to call this part of the Extreme Turbo series or if that is just the what they put on their beers when they go above 10%. But yeah, this should be quite interesting. I need to keep an eye out for more beers from this series. But you can see there, that is the Messorem Reaper. As I showed you earlier, there is the Extreme Turbo symbol on the back of this one. Plain silver top on the can there, 473 millilitres incidentally. And yeah, let's see what this guy's going to have in store for us. I'm very, very curious about this one. So, there we go. Let's get it out and into the glass and see how we go. That does look good, I will say. I can smell it already, it smells great. So, we've maybe got about 80% of the beer out and into the glass at this moment. So, before the head disappears, you can see that it's poured with about a half finger of a frothy, I would say slightly cream coloured head there. You can see smaller bubbles. You can see smaller bubbles on the surface of the liquid there, and a few kind of bigger, bubblier ones going further up. But yeah, there's not much else to report on the head there. It's fading away to be a kind of thinner, foamy layer, as you can see. But in terms of colour with this one, it pours this lovely bright yellow sort of mango juice colour. I always like comparing the New England IPAs to different fruit juices. It's just what their appearance reminds me of. But remember, the colour of your beer depends on a few things. One, the type of malts that you use. This goes a long way to determining your EBC rating. Two, length of your wort boil is going to play a role, because the longer you boil the wort, the more the sugars caramelise, and thus you get a darker colour of beer. Any barrel aging that you do or adjuncts you put into the beer will affect its colour as well, but you don't often have to care about that when it comes to different kinds of IPAs. Now, the level of haze in this one is pretty much what you would expect from this ABV and this particular style, and this brewery as well, right enough. It has got a wee bit of soupiness and gloopiness to it, but yeah, if you shine the light through it, some of that does actually come through. But remember, the the level of haze that you get in the beer is down to the oak content, wheat content, and to a degree what yeast you use. That can vary from brewery to brewery and beer to beer. Not much in the way of visible carbonation with this one, but yeah, it looks nice. There are one or two bubbles sticking toward the side of the glass, but a few little ones going up toward the bottom of that head there. But yeah, it looks really quite nice, this one, I have to say, and pretty much what you would expect from the New England Hazy IPA style. So yeah, nothing else really to report in terms of appearance. I think we can go on and have a little look at the aroma of this one. You can see that head has faded away to be pretty much nothing, just a foamy layer and ring around the edge of the glass. But yeah, let's have a wee look at this one then and see what it's all about. Oh, that does smell really nice. I'm going to say as well, this one seems a little bit more pungent than some of the other ones that I've had from Messorem in recent times. Like quite a big peachy character jumping out of it at me. And it's a little bit more wheaty leaning as well, which is interesting. But yeah, you've got your nice smooth malty base in there, a bit more bitiness, lots of fruitiness, and a bigger green component too. So that's really interesting with this one, I have to say. I've got a feeling this beer might have a little bit more of a punch to it, because when I've come into contact with the Messorem stuff before, I've always thought, oh, you know, these are quite smooth and very drinkable beers, even at the higher ABVs like this. So I'm curious to see if the way this one is going to be reflected. If the aroma is going to be reflected in the flavour actually. But yeah, remember when it comes to your New England IPAs, there are 6 elements to think about when it comes to the kind of malty and yeasty side of things. So you've got your farmhousey yeasty kind of character, and you've got your rye leaning grainy side of things. Those are a bit more common in the more old school New England brewed New England IPAs, because the style really started off as like a farmhouse type IPA, but then you've got wheaty bitiness, oaty creaminess, barley malt bread, and also the sweeter side of things, and that's the direction really where the style has more evolved into in more recent times, I would say, and since other places have started brewing it. But yeah, for me, this one is quite interesting because it leans a little bit more toward that wheaty side of things, but certainly on the aroma you can get a good little bit of the barley malt and a bit of the oaty character as well. So the backbone of this beer, you can feel that nice, fresh, white bready hedgehog bread crust in there. There's little bits of cracker, there's little bits of wood and things like that. There is a wee touch of like brown bread in there, and it's a slightly sweeter brown bread. But you've also got that nice fluffy. You've got that little bit of brown bread in there, but you've got that more fluffy, white bready character coming out of this one too. So yeah, the way that this all pieces together, I think, is really nice in that sense. The fluffy white bread in this one is actually, it smells really, really fresh when I think about it. So it's lovely and fluffy and fresh, but it does have a wee bit of that, it's got a slight sweetness to it in a sense actually. But yeah, brown bread underneath, as I say, the white bread on top, and then you can also smell that more dense, wheaty character coming out of this one. So yeah, you've got that big, dense, wheaty, white bready sort of thing in this one. At the back of the nose, you have a little bit more of, you've got a little bit of that more wheaty, bitey note in there, then that more dense, white bready character. And yeah, the way that goes together is really, really nice. So yeah, I do like that little bit of wheaty bitiness out of this one. But one thing to remember too about wheat and oats is that depending on where they're from, they can be a little bit different. You know, European wheat is a bit more bitey than North American wheat. European oats for me are a bit more creamy than American oats are. And the North American oats tend to be a little bit more almost porridgey in a sense. So yeah, for me, you can smell that smooth, wheaty character out of this one. But then you get the oats, and the oats just are that little bit kind of wetter. Now when it comes to the oats as well, the oats can usually be a good measure, roughly, or a good rough measure I should say, of how fresh your IPA is. Basically, the creamier the oats smell and taste, the fresher the New England IPA is, the drier they are, the older it is. This is something to think about. But there's quite a little bit of kind of creaminess in this one, although as I say, you get that little bit of kind of porridgey character out of it. There's a wee touch of like a Werther's Original butter candy, butterscotchy sort of thing. And then you've got that McVitie's digestive biscuity sort of note. So yeah, wee bit of McVitie's digestive biscuity character, a little bit of like yeah, a little bit of Werther's Original, a little bit of McVitie's Digestive Biscuit. These are all things that you would expect from the New England IPA as a style. But yeah, the yeasty side of things, for me, it's a little bit more, the yeasty side is a little bit more kind of fluffy and white bready in a sense. So yeah, little bit of white bready character to it, little bit of like woody and crackery note as well, and yeah, that kind of sits at the back of the nose, and it usually does at the back of the palate as well for me. But yeah, let's go on to the hoppy side of things then, and the green component. So as I've said on the channel many a time before, when it comes to hopping your IPAs, there are three types of hoppings. Early edition hopping, which takes place within the first hour of the wort boil, gives you mainly bitterness and a deeper, danker aroma. Late edition hopping, which takes place within the last half hour of the wort boil, assuming a 90-minute wort boil, of course. Most IPAs use there or thereabouts. But yeah, late edition hopping within the last half hour, sorry, is going to give you a little bit of bitterness, mainly flavour and aroma, and a brighter green component. And then you've got the dry hopping, which takes place after the wort boil is complete, and that's all flavour and aroma, and again gives you a very kind of bright green component. So yeah, for me the green component in this one, it's mainly floral, but you do have a bit of grassiness at the front of the nose with it. There's wee bits, like there's a slight woodiness to this one, but that might be the yeast that's giving you that. So slight woodiness, slight earthiness, and a wee bit of a grassy character to it as well. But yeah, when you sugar it up, it has a bit more of a kind of leafiness to it, and a wee bit more of the earthiness shows its head right enough. So yeah, for me, that's really, really interesting. So yeah, the way that goes together is nice, like wee bit earthy, wee bit woody, floral, and kind of earthy too. So yeah, the way that all of that pieces together, I think, is really, really nice. So I think that's everything we really need to say about the green component. The fruity side of this beer isn't really a surprise either. Like I said, we've got Motueka, Galaxy, and Citra in this one. So there's a bit of peach in this one from the Citra, definitely. Good little bit of passion fruit in there, but lots and lots and lots of mango. This is a very, very mango leaning beer for me. There's some nice apricot as well, pineapple for sure, but lots of nice kind of juicy limey character from the Motueka. Maybe a little bit orangey as well. Motueka, sometimes in the aroma it can give you more of an orangey note, but in the flavour it's, yeah, pretty much always lime. But and of course with Citra being in there and its lemon limey qualities, it's going to kind of contribute to that as well. But yeah, all in all, the aroma of this one, I think, is very, very nice. So it's a big thumbs up from me. Yeah, the way that goes together is great. So as I always say, just take a little bit of time and enjoy the aroma of your beer before you get stuck into it. But I think it is about time to have a taste of this one then and see what it's all about. So yeah, beautiful smelling beer. This one is Temporalis number 22, New England Hazy Imperial Triple, whatever you want to call it, IPA at 10.3% ABV from Messorem Bractorium in Montreal, Quebec, Canada. Let's get stuck into this and see what it's all about. Slàinte, skål, and cheers. Oh yeah. Yeah, that one is quite different from the aroma. Not quite what I expected, actually. But again, it's very, very good. I really thought from the aroma this one was going to be like a little bit more bitter, a little bit more I thought it was going to be like a little bit more bitter, a little bit more kind of wheaty leaning, and yeah, a little bit more peachy and things, but it's very soft, very oaty, very creamy and juicy. New England IPA. But again, as is typical with Messorem, it's dangerously easy to drink, this one. So yeah, be aware of that. Messorem kind of pulling it out of the bag again, I have to say, but thumbs up to them. This is and again, another very, very good beer. I always look forward to getting the Messorem stuff through and trying one of them, or one or two of them. But yeah, with Messorem here in Hong Kong, I always tend to review the doubles and triples and things like that, just because it's the bang for your buck thing, to be honest with you. You pay just a little bit more, like $5 or something more for a triple than you will for a single. So yeah, if I'm getting the imported beer, I want it to be good value, basically, in that sense. But yeah, great beer, this one. Let's do as we always do, and we'll break it down and describe it for you more in depth. Yeah, so in terms of the malty side of things with this one, you do get, it does lean a little bit more toward the kind of yeasty side of things in a way. So this is quite interesting from that perspective, this beer, I have to say. But yeah, it does have quite a lot of barley malt and oaty character to it as well, but there's nothing particularly surprising about the flavour profile of this one. But as I say, it doesn't quite match up with what you expect from the aroma, in a sense. So yeah, let's just break the beer down then and describe it for you more in depth. We'll start with the middle third of the palate, as we often do. So the backbone of the beer, you've got that lovely, fresh, white bready bread crust in there, just forming the backbone of the beer. As you move a little bit further forward on that middle third of your palate, it's got a wee bit of yeah, it does have a little bit more of a kind of woody character to it, but then you get that nice kind of floral, you get that more kind of Jacob's cream crackery sort of note coming out of it as well, which is quite nice. And that does, the crackery side of the beer and the slightly woody character that it has, does linger into the aftertaste a wee bit as well. So that's kind of interesting too. So yeah, on top of that, you do get a kind of brown bready character, so you can feel that nice brown bready note in there. And the brown bready character has a wee bit of graininess to it as well, and that lingers into the aftertaste too. But then yeah, on top of that, on top of the kind of brown bready layer you have, the brown bready layer is actually a little bit lighter and more airy in a sense too. So you've got that, and then above that you have the white bready character, which again is a little bit lighter and more airy too. But yeah, they've both got a little bit of dryness to them, and the bready character, I think, gets a wee bit sweeter into the aftertaste as well. But then above all of that, you have above all of that, you do have a little bit of yeah, you do have a little bit of the wheaty, the more dense wheaty white bread coming out. So yeah, above that fluffier white bready layer, you can feel the more dense white bready layer coming out of this one. So yeah, the way that that goes together, I think, is really, really nice. So yeah, more dense white bready character coming out of this one from the wheaty side of things. And I will say, further toward the back of that middle third of your palate, you do get a wee bit more bite out of the wheat, I would say. So that's kind of interesting. But then yeah, remember, sweeter flavours come out further forward, more dry and bitter flavours come out further back. But yeah, the wheat kind of lingers there, and it gives you that dense, a slightly drier white bready character on top of your barley malt base. But then yeah, above that, you're starting to get the oaty side of the beer as well. So kind of down the middle line of your palate, you can feel that really dense and slightly more creamy oaty note there. But then yeah, as you move out toward the edges of your palate there, you start to get the drier side of the oats. But in the dead centre of your tongue, you've got that little circle where you get that Werther's Original butter candy, butterscotchy side of things, and that is of course the alcohol of the beer. Surrounding that, you get a little bit of a sweeter kind of McVitie's digestive biscuity note to it, which I think is very, very nice. I think after that we've said everything that we really need to about the middle third of your palate then. So yeah, I like that about this one for sure. So on the on the back third of your palate, as I've often said, the back third of your palate will give you similar flavours to the middle third of your palate, just at different intensities. But yeah, the border region between middle and back third of your palate, you get that nice little bit of bready build-up in there. So you can feel some of the brown bread at the bottom, the white bread in the middle, then the more dense and bitey, wheaty white bread on top of that. But yeah, the base of your back third of your palate, you've got the bread crust in there, which feels a little bit kind of drier and more grainy, of course. You've got the cracker above that too, then the brown bready layer, which feels a little bit lighter, taller and more airy. Then you've got the white bready layer above that, which again feels a little bit lighter, taller and more airy. Then you've got the wheaty side of things, and it's a bit more bitey, of course, on that back third of your palate too. So yeah, then it's all about the yeasty character above that as well, which is quite interesting. So yeah, the yeasty side of this beer then, for me, the yeasty side of this one is quite interesting, because in the dead centre it's like a sweet kind of brown bready character, then further out around that it's like a slightly more grainy white bready sort of thing, and then a wee bit of a bread crusty note around the edge too. So definitely the way that goes together is really quite nice. But yeah, on the back third of your palate you can feel the flavour is taller, then as you move further forward into the middle third of your tongue it just kind of condenses down and squashes together that little bit more. So yeah, the way that it goes together is really, really nice. Yeah, malty yeasty side of this beer is quite nice. You get more wheat out of it into the aftertaste, but it's definitely a bit more oaty leaning and a bit more yeasty, this one. This one actually is quite nice because you get up the four main elements. You get yeastiness, you get wheatiness, oatiness and barley malt. They're all really noticeable in this one. But yeah, let's go on to the hoppy side of things with this beer then and focus on that a little bit. Green component first. In the back corners of the palate you get that nice little bit of earthiness there, but as you move further forward it's a little touch herbal. And then as you push further forward toward the kind of front corners of your palate, it's a little bit more floral and aromatic. There maybe has a wee bit of pine resiny character underneath that, but then round the front curve of the tongue it's definitely a little bit lighter, more grassy and kind of zesty in a sense. But yeah, I do like how that goes together. So yeah, let's focus on that front third of your palate then. The border region between front third and middle third of your palate, you get that nice little bit of bready build up in there. So you can feel the brown bread in the base, the white bread in the middle, and the more wheaty, bitey white bread on top. The base of that front third of your palate is, of course, the bread crust. Then you've got the kind of crackery note, the brown bread, the white bread, and then the smoother side of the wheat. And then above that, you get that nice oily bubble where the juicy, fruity esters roll their way out of the beer. So let's look at the fruity side of things then. At the back of that front third of your palate, you can definitely get a little bit of that kind of stronger grapefruit, and both Galaxy and Citra are going to give you that. But yeah, as you move further forward from that, there's a little bit of sharper peach, lots and lots of kind of very ripe, juicy mango underneath that. And then as you move further forward, you start to get a wee bit more kind of passion fruit, and then like softer apricot in the middle of that front third of your palate too, and a wee bit of pineapple just kind of sitting on top of that as well. But then as you move into the front half of the front third of your tongue, it's definitely a little bit more about the kind of juicy, limey sort of character, and that's the Motu Eco, of course, that's going to give you that. So yeah, the big juicy, limey character in this one is really, really nice. And just behind the kind of front tip of your tongue there, you've got some lovely sort of you've got a wee bit of that more lemony, limey note, which will come from the Citra as well, and then the kind of that just kind of beds in with the sort of more grassy esters coming out of the beer too, which is really, really nice. But I think at that we've said everything we really need to about the flavour of this beer. But this is really nice. Again, Not surprised with this one because, you know, I know how Messorem are. Their beers are just really damn solid, and this beer is very, very nice as well. Yeah, a slightly more oily example from these guys, though, I would say. So I think on that note, we can round off the review with a wee look at the mouthfeel. So for me, this beer is definitely kind of bottom end to full bodied for me. The carbonation is very, very smooth. Like I said, this beer has a wee more of a kind of oily vibe to it, and there's a wee bit of kind of creaminess in there. And then yeah, on the malty side of things with this one, you've got a wee bit of dryness underneath, smoothness in the middle, and a wee bit more kind of creaminess on top with a slight sweetness to it. And then yeah, you've got these lovely big juicy fruity characters coming out of the beer as well, which are very, very nice. So yeah, all in all, I think this beer is really pretty damn good. Very impressed with this one, but again, I know Messorem pretty damn well these days, I guess. So yeah, the only other thing left is to actually go and visit these guys in Montreal. So hopefully that is something we can do at some point in the fairly near future. But yeah, I think we can leave it at that for this review. This has been really, really nice to do. So yeah, this was the Temporalis number 22, a 10.3% New England Hazy Imperial Triple, whatever you want to call it, IPA from Messorem Bractorium in Montreal, Quebec, Canada. Really nice beer once again from these guys, and if you haven't tried something from this brewery, I highly, highly recommend that you do. Once again, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comments section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from Messorem Bractorium as well, and we will no doubt return to these guys again at some point in the fairly near future. But until then, Slàinte, Skål, cheers, check out my social media, check out their social media, and I'll see you guys in another review very, very soon. Ciao just now.